Hello and welcome to Zasaa, and today I have a Zasaa Zooms in. Now my guest today is not a stranger, but it's been a long time since she's been on this show. I think she's been avoiding me, but I've captured her today. And I've got her here. So Lola, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Please don't stay away so long again. But today, the conversation I want to have, and I specifically wanted to have it with you because you have a bit more insight than, I know a lot of the answers, but I wanted you to speak to it because I think it's a problem. And the topic is, why vote? Yeah.
Yes.
So let me tell you why I thought about this. Voting starts at age 18, I think, well, in this country anyway, age 18. And so, especially as women growing up, that at 18 you can vote, it's like at 18 you can drink. 18 is the turning point for several
coming
things.
Of age.
Yeah, so, very excited at 18 and, I get to vote. And then I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Okay, so I get to vote, but so what does that mean? Now, I did try and find out, and I did vote. And then it got to a point in my life where I was just not voting, which I'm actually ashamed to say. But I just wasn't because I didn't know, I just couldn't. You know what I mean? It was just too much. So I understand that it's important to vote. So I vote now. I said the stage. There was a period when I didn't. But because my children now, two of my children have got to the age where they should be voting. And I can see the same thing in them where they're like, what's the point? So please, speak for me.
I think the first thing to understand is that age group generally doesn't care about voting.
I shouldn't be concerned.
So it's not unusual. That's just the fact. Most people 18 to 30, 35 don't really engage.
Up to 35?
They're not really
so I was good.
Engaged in that sense, apart from those who are in politics or are activists or have a particular cause that they're championing. You'd find that you struggle to get them engaged. To be fair, there's a bit of a shift. There's a change. The world is a lot more politicized now. There's a lot more issues from climate change to the troubles in the Middle East. People are taking positions. So you're seeing a lot more young people kind of getting interested in, geopolitics and politics around the world. But by and large, most people that are getting on with their lives and having fun and being young, why vote? Why would I vote? What difference does it make? And that is the real question. What difference does it make?
Okay, so let's even come to that. What difference does it make? So there was one time, in fact, that's the time that I stopped voting, where there was nobody looked like they made any sense to me, right? But also it was a local election. But also it wasn't going to, as in, no matter how much I voted for this, how there's strategic voting, I think, where so that you vote for one party, even though it wasn't the party you wanted. So that the other party. So I didn't know about that. So I just thought I'm not voting because there was nobody that I felt like, so how can, anyway, just talk.
Let me give you an example with the local elections, for example. So the local council obviously deals with your roads, education, those things that are within your local vicinity. I'll pick Wandsworth in London. Okay. For many years, had the lowest council tax in the country, and it probably still does. Okay. In fact, I was talking to somebody not long ago, and they lived in Wandsworth. They had moved somewhere else, and they were like, their council tax was like £80 or something ridiculous a year. A year. I live in. I will have to fact check that, but it was ridiculous what they said because they were now talking about how in their new area they're obviously paying close to £2,000. But the thing is, the reason that the council tax was or is the lowest in the country is because it was a very well run council. Okay. They had a local government in there that managed the money. I lived in Wandsworth many moons ago, and it was the council tax was so that's an example of a practical. You're saving money. You can look at where you have good schools. You can look at where your roads are a priority for your council. You can call me possibly a political activist. So every weekend I'm out knocking on doors and speaking to people. Political.
You can call me. She is. That's why I'm asking her this question. She is.
And I'm asking people, and especially as we're in the run up to the local elections in many councils across England and Wales, coming up in May. And I'm saying, what are your priorities? What do you want this person, this candidate? And obviously, I'm speaking on behalf of candidates and asking them. And for many people, they can articulate, well, antisocial behavior in this area is out of this. What are you going to do about it? Well, the roads always come up potholes and things. So they can kind of articulate what it is that they want you to do for them. Now, if you're 18, you don't have children, you probably may not be driving yet, you're not thinking about that. But what I would say is, if you don't get involved, even at that basic level of voting, somebody else will.
Yeah.
And that's why, if you look at across, the UK and even the US, we've seen the rise of extremists coming into mainstream politics. People that have moderate views, like us, who are just kind of want to just get along with everyone, are being shut down. You have people because they're the ones that have the time and the inclination to make the noise and to force their values down our throats. Now, if you don't, you may think, oh, I'm not voting. That's one thing, but then you're letting them in, and then there's another thing that erodes what really could be your right. So it becomes a slippery slope. That's what I tell people. You can't just
never
sit
thought
back
about it like that.
and let people make decisions for you, because it's just a vote today. Tomorrow, it's an encroachment on your rights, and you've got to consider that.
That's so interesting because, I mean, I know it's important to vote, but I've never thought about, and it's true. I know that, okay, it does make a difference. But that statement you just made about it's just a vote today, but tomorrow it's an encroachment because it's true. Because you look at many different, not just the UK, where people, I guess it's probably as a result of people not taking a stand.
Yeah.
I guess what is voting? What would you say voting is?
Voting is saying you're going to pick the person that is going to act as a representative for you. The thing is, you will never find somebody who fits all your values. Sometimes you would just look and you just be like, Lord, what am I gonna do? But then I'm not. I think in Australia, or somewhere, it's illegal not to vote.
Oh, really?
I'm not. That's I don't really believe that. I think people fought for the right to vote so that you could have the right not to vote.
Yeah. So it's your choice. Yeah.
So it was a choice that was fought for, not an imperative to go out to vote. So I'm more of the try and persuade people, try and show them what that vote would make. And it might not be this one time you vote. It might just be that you begin to build up a base. And politicians, they take note. That's why you see a lot of times they're trying to cater to the older demographic, because they come out. They come out, they'll be like, because we kind of go out on election day and say, do you want to ride to the polling station? Okay. They will accept your offer to take them to the polling. They will always turn up to vote. So when the government or whatever party is trying to get in the government is, formulating their manifesto, they're looking at that group that we've got to make sure that because they're the ones that come out
to vote.
There's no point in making noise and then you don't vote.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna, and that's the reality. Maybe there's an argument for why don't you, but that's how you win an election. You target the voters that will come out, and give you that vote.
Okay, so now let me even bring it home, because I feel like, and I may be wrong, and you can probably correct me here. What about the black vote? Do we vote? Because I almost feel like,
it's the black vote. I don't believe in that.
No. So what I'm saying is, like, do you think? Okay, maybe. I don't know. This is something I keep hearing that the black congregation people, this congregation, the black community, are not as likely to vote as the non-black community. And the reason I've heard this is because they say, it's not going to, the same sort of thing that I was saying, it's not going to make any difference. But I think, having just heard what you have said, that it's irrelevant, maybe, if it makes an immediate difference. Is that correct?
Because you can't make an immediate difference anyway. We're in a two-party state, if you like. That's not going to change. I mean, the next election might throw us in a hung parliament. I don't know. We'll see. But effectively, if, for example, if you're a young person now, you come to me and you say, I want to be an MP, who should I talk to? I'd tell you, realistically, you've got to either choose the Labour Party or the Conservative Party. Because that's your quickest chance of getting there. Obviously, you have to jump through whatever hoops that each party is. But that's the reality of that gives you that chance. So we have a two-party state. In terms of the black, I don't like saying the black vote because we're such a myriad group.
We are.
But anecdotally, I would agree. A lot of black people I know personally do not engage, which is a shame because we have a lot to offer.
Yes, I think
a lot to offer. And I think we're community minded. A lot of us are involved in our faith groups, in churches, in charities. So we're and I guess that's just how we're quite family oriented, community minded as well. So for me it's a natural progression to kind of But I also wonder if there are barriers. Not that I wonder, there are barriers. People kind of don't think like a lot of people I know are from Nigeria, and a lot of black people I know are from Nigeria, and they don't have that history or culture of democratic engagement. So if I tell you, email your MP and request a meeting, they're like, because you can't email your senator in Nigeria, and expect. But I could walk into the House of Commons, into the lobby, and if my MP is there, I can request that he comes downstairs to see me if he's there.
Did you know that? Wow.
So people don't know that.
So let's even talk about the role of the MP. So because I know they do say that all the time, write to your MP, lobby your MP, etc. So what is my MP supposed to do for me?
It depends. If it may be something as simple as your housing association is messing you about. You've run through all their complaints channels and nothing has happened. Get your MP to write a letter to them, and I can guarantee they'll pick up the phone in 5 minutes. So things like that. It may even be immigration issues. It may be health, with the NHS. They're there as your representatives. So now, of course, there's I don't want to get too technical, but there's the division of the local stuff. So if it's to do with schools or you have your local councillor for that. So you would go to your local councillor for that. But your MP generally is there to represent. Or if they say something in Parliament that you don't like, or you want them to say something, we've had where we've asked MPs to ask questions on our behalf, just to ask a question that raises that topic up for debate, and he gives it that volume or whatever it is.
So how would that work in the sense that would I I'll just email. So okay, let me come back, because I'm thinking to myself, why are they going to ask my question as opposed to
that is going to be
question?
that would take a lot. I mean, an MP would have to know you, and you'd build that. I mean, he wouldn't just take a question off the street, because
all right, fair enough.
At the end of the day, they have to do their own due diligence and just make sure that.
And everybody could be sending questions.
And everybody could be sending, but but what I'm saying is it's possible, And then I one of the things we kind of tell people is, MPs, politicians, whoever, they always want help. So if you're living in your local area or whatever, and you identify who your MP is, just tell them, do you want me to? And obviously if it's somebody that you don't agree with their views, then that's another story. But if it's somebody that you're in alignment with them, can I deliver leaflets for you? And that's how you start that relationship. Because if you help the MP, if you tell him, oh, we're doing a community outreach in December, whatever, can you come? Of course he'll come, because you spent the whole election period delivering leaflets for half an hour, every whatever, half an hour here, an hour there, whatever. So that, to me, if not a lot of people can or want to do that, but if you're looking to engage, you've got to see, how can I be of value to them, so that we can then begin to have that relationship, and then build. I mean, but there are loads of other things that people can do to get engaged in public life.
That's what I was going to ask next. So for example, I mean, I know, and I don't even know if this is getting engaged in public life, but being on boards and all, is that getting engaged in public life?
Because they're public boards.
Okay.
So they're boards.
Because you need to hook me up now. I want to be on.
Tell me what area you want. I will find a board for
Find
you.
a board for me. No, because I do feel that it's important that we're involved in the
decision
the decision making,
and the
yes,
strategic direction that a lot of these public bodies take. And when you look at them, and sometimes you look at some of the decisions they make, and you because you're sitting, you're thinking, how did you do that? And what happened?
Yeah.
Who was in the room? But here's the thing: who was not in the room? It was,
But you see, it's so funny because I was, when my kids were in primary school, I was the head of the PTA. And I remember, and it's so funny, that's why I said the black vote, because trying to get my fellow people of color to join, they couldn't understand it. Why are you? But the insight that I had just by being in the, because I was in the school corridors up and down, I just had so much insight, and they would call me to ask, I suddenly, like you said, relationship.
Yeah.
So there were certain things that I had that all these people had no access. And I kept saying to them, you just need to engage.
Yes.
But they were not interested in engaging at all. As long as the only time they were interested is when something was happening to one of their children. They now come and look for me to now try and help them. You know what I mean? But I wasn't, mine was just that for as long as my children are in this school and these people are responsible for my children for most of the day, I will be popping in there. How am I going to see what's going on inside? Because they can tell you one thing, but unless you're inside, you don't know.
You won't know.
And the stuff that I got from the inside made me know that, you need to engage. I mean, I've always sort of been the sort of person that engages, but in that PTA thing, I mean, it was just, so I understand what you mean by engaging, and I think, I mean, it takes work to engage, so maybe that's why people don't want to.
It does.
Because I mean, I literally poured my heart out. So,
but I think like for you, the pull was the fact that, well, my children are here, and I have to have that oversight. I think what would help people is find something that you're passionate about, and there must be something that you want to see excelling in society. Whatever it is, whether you're a teacher and you might be a junior teacher, you don't really have a lot of influence in yours, you're just starting out. There's so many boards in the Department of Education that you could just apply to and begin to make policy contributions that then filter down to whatever, your primary school, your secondary school.
Yeah, because I was a governor of I was governor of a primary school for ages, and again, it's critical because there are things like there were certain things that terms that we made the decisions. Yes. Well, I say we made decisions. We had the discussions. We had the discussions to decide what would be allowed or not allowed. What was and. It's funny because when I think about it now, I mean, I did it again. Why did I do it? I don't even know why I did it. I like to be involved, I think. But what I got out of that as well, also the people you meet, I think is important. We really need to start getting more engaged. Pretend that...
I mean, if you take the governor of a school board, and I'm sure a lot of school boards are functioning in a diverse way now, but imagine that you had a school board that had 10 middle-aged men.
Yeah.
Great, professionals in whatever they're doing, but it would never cross their mind to deal with something like periods and how how to make sure that girls are not excluded from education or what. And why would it?
Why would it exactly?
Why would it?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's where that kind of, and it's not just diversity of you have two black people. No, it's a diversity of thinking, because you could have two black people and they all have a white person and black, and there's no correlation with how they. So for me, it's more about diversity of thought and experience.
Yes.
What are you bringing that is going to improve this sport or this organization? So I tell people, find what you're passionate about. If it's in the public space, you will find a board for it. I go to I volunteer in a women's prison once a month, and the Department of Justice has so many boards, where, and now because I see those women, I see how, in fact, one Sunday we went onto their wings, and I was like, oh gosh, that was, I was like, okay, this is very interesting. But one of the things I took out of that was one of the boards they have it's called a monitoring board. So it's just a group of independent people who go into prisons and just report back on how prisoners are treated, how they just to make sure that they're. And I thought that's so. If as somebody who I'm not doing it, but as somebody who volunteers in a prison, that's a good board to be on because you're seeing how they are, but you can also provide some input into the decision making process, and how the prison operations are monitored and things like so. There's always something. Just go on to public appointments, Google public appointments,
Public appointments.
Google public appointments, and obviously all the filters you can search via industry or department or what you want to do, and just apply.
But do you need what are they looking for? Like, is it hard to get onto these things?
I think it depends.
Okay.
Of course, you're not going to apply to be the chair of a board because
Why not?
if you've never been on a board before.
Fair enough, yeah.
But for example, that independent monitoring board, anyone, as long as you're over 18, anyone can apply.
Okay.
And that gives you the experience of working on a board for
Yes,
first of
for
all.
stuff to
So
start
that's
off, yes.
you're building that for whatever is coming up. But some others, it may be your professional experience. So HR professionals, IT professionals, customer service professionals, legal. I mean, the usual stuff used to be legal, accounting, finance. Those were the people that used to fill up the boards. But it's changed. It's opened up, and the world has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, boards are looking for people with ESG experience because those are the frameworks they're using to judge things now. So find your niche, and then get in there. And just apply, just go for it. I always say just go for it because I spend a lot of time what if I'm not good enough? What if, but maybe I think.
Yeah, but you see, it's funny because even when I was a governor of the school, I spent the time, it got to the point where the principal called me in for a meeting one day and he said to me, you have so much to give, but you don't speak in, because I would speak to him privately, but to speak, because the people I was with, I was somewhat intimidated by them because they all had everything behind their names, so when they speak and they say, I would just, make a note, then I would send him a message later or whatever. He was like, why don't you ever speak up in the, and I was like, because.
That's a good chair, by the way, just.
Yeah, no, he was, this was even the principal, not the chair. He wasn't the chair, he was the principal. And he said to me, because when we have conversations, you have so much to bring, but when we're in the meetings, you're silent. And he was absolutely right, but I was deadly silent because I was like taking notes, thinking, okay, I'll feedback when I need to, but I'm not opening my mouth here to look like a fool.
I know exactly. That's how I have to really, because I'm like that as well. I have to because I'm a governance professional, I've kind of been in boards my whole career, but not as the contributor, as the compliance person. So it's a different thing where you're having to contribute to the board. But what I literally speak to myself. I'm like, well, you're here now, so.
But, and I think it's so important because I think that, and I am the one that will always say there's no such thing as a stupid question. There's no, I always say that, but then I'm sitting there thinking, this one went to has this many.
And there are all these letters behind them. You're like,
but I think the thing to remember, and that's what I always remind myself, is that no one is you. Nobody has your experience. Yeah. Nobody, and so whilst it might seem like a stupid question to maybe 2 people in the room, it will probably seem like a very valid question to 5 of the other people. And it probably isn't stupid. And maybe you are just even making too much of it, So before I left, I did get a bit better at contributing.
And you've got that experience now,
in the thing. But it's also, I think for me, what was a learning curve from that was that sometimes you don't see what is in you.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So whilst, I know what's in me because I know, but I don't necessarily see the value of what's in me. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. So I knew that, yes, I have this experience, I've done this, that, and the other. I can speak to this, that, and the other. I have 4 children. It was a governor. They all went to, and it wasn't of my children's school. It was of a different school. Yeah. So you know what I mean? I had a lot to, and that's why they loved having me there. So like, why are you not? Why won't you speak? They don't. So I think it's I think that's key. So get involved. We started off by talking about voting because I think that's important. But even
but I think ultimately, I would encourage look, I do a postal vote because for whatever reason on election day, especially if I'm working. Yes, okay, I'll go do what I got, and then of course the polls are up until 10. But you get home and you're just tired. So I'm just like, you know what? And then there was one time, my husband had to travel unexpected. So he couldn't vote. So let's just do the postal vote. You get it out a couple of weeks before election day. It's sorted. You don't have to think about it. So if you're, I mean, we haven't gotten to online voting yet. But for now, just do the postal vote. It comes through your post 2 weeks before. Tick, tick, tick. Send it off. Obviously, check who you're voting for and make sure that they align.
Let's speak
with
to,
your
because
views.
we have a local.
The local elections is coming
When
up
is
in
it?
May. Is it May 3rd?
Third is a Saturday. Is it on
May
a Saturday?
2nd.
May 2nd.
It's always a Thursday. So the Thursday.
It's a Thursday. Oh, okay. I don't know what day.
Or is it
that
May
is.
9th?
It's May.
Whatever.
I'll check. But anyway, there's a election coming. If you're in the London area, this is London. Or is it
It's
everywhere?
across.
Oh, it's across?
We have it in Hertfordshire as well. We have it.
Oh,
in,
okay.
I
Let me
think
find
it's
my-
in a lot of councils. I mean, not all councils because they kind of have this. They have off years where there's no election, but it, certainly in
Okay,
in London
it's
the
the second,
GLA
Thursday, second.
second.
Yeah,
Okay.
the second.
So I think the police and crime commissioner elections are on the same day.
Don't confuse us. So look, there's an election coming up. Try and get involved, and just think about what Lola said about just getting involved generally in other things that you can do because it's so important. I always say we're here for a reason, and we need to take our place in whatever way. And I just thought because I knew that Lola is into politics, I just thought that this would be a good opportunity to encourage you to please vote. And if you don't vote and you don't want, please send us a message. Let us deal with you.